Hello and welcome back to the RAGS tutorial. We are going to be covering objects in this lesson. This is going to be a rather large lesson. There's a lot to go over in objects, and that really is what makes your game come alive, and you can do so many things with objects. So we're going to continue on with our previous game. If you've been following the other tutorials, this should all be familiar to you. So we are now on our objects, and if you remember, I briefly created a basketball object in the first tutorial just to show how you can place objects in rooms. Now we're going to take a closer look at the objects. We're going to attack some multimedia. We're going to attack the portal objects that I referred to in our rooms a little earlier. And we're going to talk about the layered clothing system in RAGS. So there's a lot to cover. Let's just jump right into it. When you click on your Objects tab, the object that's being displayed refers to your object library. So in order for you to view and modify your objects, you will select which object you want to modify here from your object library. So right now we have a basketball that I created. The preposition by default is A. That's used by the engine to do some display stuff. If you want a or a pair of or those sorts of things, you can type in your preposition at that point there. The display name override, we've touched on this with the rooms objects as well. If you want to organize your object names logically with names such as, sports equipment basketball, something like that, and then you can change your display name to simply say my basketball, something like that. And then you'll fill in your description. This is an orange basketball. Note if we have my basketball, we should probably change the preposition and leave that off. Well, anyway, that's how you do that. Let's just get rid of that for now. Okay, so description is pretty self-explanatory. Now if you'll notice over here, the Objects Contained panel. This will become available to you if your object happens to be a container. We're going to be creating a container to store all of our junk. We will make a trunk and we'll make it a container so we can stick items inside that. So I'll show you how to do that. But the other attributes we should look at briefly here is carryable. An object needs to be marked carryable in order for you to be able to pick it up or drop it or carry it with your character. Certain things you probably don't want the player to carry, like a bed or something like that, so you would just turn off your carryable object there, or a car or a bus object, any of those. The other attribute we should look at is wearable. Now if you click wearable and turn it on, you'll notice we have enabled whether we want the current wearable state to be worn or removed. So this is also important. If you want your player to start out wearing a piece of clothing, you'd want its current wearable state to be worn. By default, it's removed. Alright, so we're not going to have that. Container object, as you'll notice, as soon as you click that, your Put Items in Object button gets illuminated. Right now we don't have any objects to put inside there. And Remove Items from Object. So that's how you would insert your items. Now you cannot click and drag and drop items into the objects contained, because as soon as you click on an item in your object library, it will change your selection here. So that's why in this case you'll need to use your Put Items in Object button or the Remove Items from Object. But a basketball isn't a container, at least in my game. Openable. So this is a current open state, whether a door, for example, or even a trunk is open or closed. That's how you would do that. The current open state, if you want it to be open at the start of the game, you would set it there. Okay, lockable. Current state is locked or unlocked. So the way locked works is typically you'd need a key to set something locked or unlocked. In RAGS, it's just essentially another property on an object. It doesn't need to be an openable object. You could have a car door that's locked or unlocked, but Maybe you don't want it to open, they have to crawl through the window, I don't know. There are items that you might want to lock that you don't want openable. But anyway, you can do that within rags. Enterable and readable, at this point, don't do anything. I'm not sure if they're going to, but for now you can more or less ignore them. Now if you remember back on the player tab, we talked about these enforced weight carry restrictions. If we look at the objects tab, you'll see this is where you can assign a weight to your object. So this is how you would basically use carry weight restrictions. If you don't want your player to carry a bunch of stuff, make it a little more challenging for them. Make sure they get the right combination of items and weight. You could do that there. Now this current visible state is you can have an object already in a room but have it be invisible or visible. So essentially that just won't show up in your room or in your inventory or anywhere. So that's something else to remember. So this page was pretty basic. Let's go ahead and take a look at custom properties. This should be familiar to you. We can set property names, property values, just like in the rooms and the player. And now we get to layered clothing. Now, layered clothing is somewhat complicated, but it's very powerful and flexible. So I provided quite a bit of instructions on this page itself. So you can read through all of these, or I will just show you some demonstrations on how to design your own layers. But we're not going to do that right now for our basketball. Let's look at our Actions tab. Right now we can examine, take, and drop. Now those were all default actions that we put in there. So let's go ahead and add something a little more interesting. What I'd like to tackle first is creating a trunk, or an object that can contain other objects. So let's go ahead and add. I right-clicked and selected Add to add an object. The other way you can add is with this button up here, Add Object. They both do the same thing. I'm going to call this trunk. A trunk. So let's give it a brief description. Alright, so it's a fairly large trunk that contains your possessions. Now I'm not going to set any of the attributes, because if you remember, when we execute our quick action commands, it will already set what it needs for us. So let's jump over to Actions real quick. We're going to add Examine. If we look at the item Examine, you'll see all it does is display the description. But let's go ahead and add a bunch of pictures for some objects I want to add. I've already gathered these together briefly here. I just went to images.google.com and grabbed a whole bunch of pictures of stuff I'd like to demonstrate. And somewhere in here should be a trunk or footlocker. There we go. So if you click on your multimedia, I should briefly go over how I did that. All you do is right-click in your multimedia library and select Add. And that's where you can select multiple images and multimedia now, such as sound effects and those sorts of things. In fact, let's go ahead and add some sound effects. I grabbed some sound effects here, and we'll just do some silly things with them. So let's do, oh, I don't know, how about that one, that one. Okay, so these are all just sound effects. So I've got 4 of them here. I don't know if I'll use them all. But let's go ahead and add them in here. Now when you click on a WAV file in your preview, you'll get a Windows Media Player control that will appear here, and you can hear your sounds. Whoop, there it was. That's our balloon pop. It's our comical descent, metal gong. Then of course when you go back to pictures, you'll see your picture displayed here. So that's how Rags handles multimedia. It will also handle videos the same way. So we have a trunk, but what I'd like it to do when we're doing an examine, I'm going to add another command here. And I like to display the picture of what the player is examining Helps, I think it helps give them a better feel for the game, get more into the game. So we're going to do a display multimedia. What we're going to do is display the Foot Locker picture, which if you remember is that. So that's how you can examine an item and have it display on the screen for the player. We're also going to open and close this trunk. So when I did that, it said the object attribute openable has been set. When you add your quick commands, RAG says, hey, they don't have openable set, so let's go ahead and set it for them. If we go back over here, you will now see it is openable. Now, what I'm going to do, let's go back over here. We're going to add the container attribute. So we'll turn that on. Let's go ahead and put an item in here. We're going to put the basketball inside the trunk. So if it, I believe it was, let's cancel that. I believe it was in the player's inventory. Nope, it's in a room. Where did that basketball? Oh, okay, so it was in the western room. So we'll go back here and we're going to stick the basketball in the trunk instead. Okay, great. Go back over here, it's gone. Now, the basketball is inside the trunk, but where's the trunk? The trunk is nowhere. By default, all your objects are in a void room. They're essentially not in the game. So let's go ahead and stick the trunk in the western room. So go down here to our object library, select our trunk, and drag and drop it in there. So now our trunk is in the western room. Inside the trunk is the basketball. And initially, the trunk is closed. So the player will have to open it. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this and see how our trunk object is working. Okay, enter our character's name, that's right. We did all that. Okay, we're going to hide our debug data form. We're going to go to the western room, go over here, and here we go. You can see a trunk closed. If we examine the trunk, we see our picture. It says this is a fairly large trunk that contains your possessions. It's closed. Let's go ahead and open the trunk. And now, if you'll see, the basketball is indented slightly. That indicates the basketball is inside the trunk. So if we examine it again, we see it is open and it contains a basketball. Now you can take your basketball and move around with it. Let me just show you briefly how it looks if we have the initial state to open. Let's go ahead and run the game again. All I did was change the trunk's open state to open. Alright, just fill in some words there. We'll get over that. Okay. And now, as you can see, the trunk is open. You can already see the basketball because it's inside the trunk and the trunk is open. Let's go ahead and close that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our prompts here so we can move a little faster through our demos because we have so much to cover. Okay, so that's our trunk and that's a container in RAGs. And that's how you can do it very simply. You can of course add your own custom commands. We'll get to that a little more later. What I'd like to do now is see what other objects I have. I grabbed a bunch of clothing objects so we can talk about layered clothing. So let's go ahead and do that now. And what I'd like to do first is create a piece of clothing. Let's call it a t-shirt, for example. There we go, a t-shirt. This is a nice white t-shirt with the earth on the front. Okay, so I actually have a picture for the t-shirt that I looked ahead of time. It actually has this nice little map of, or globe of the earth on it. So let's go ahead and allow the player to examine. Let's go ahead and make sure we display that picture of the t-shirt. So we're going to select Media, Display Multimedia, and it will be our t-shirt. And there it is. So now when they examine, they'll see the t-shirt. Now we're going to add some additional custom commands. We've got a combination here by default of take, drop, wear, and remove. This command by default will allow you to take or drop the item. It will also allow you to do a layered wear command and a layered remove command. So we've set two attributes when we ran that. We set carryable and wearable. So let's go ahead and click OK. We'll make sure those are actually set, and they are. Current wearable state is removed. Okay, let's see what take and drop does. When you take the t-shirt, you will move the item to your inventory. Go ahead and click on those. It will display some text. You pick up a t-shirt. You can, of course, change any of these commands as you see fit. And you'll notice we do these set actions. Item set action active or inactive. T-shirt drop is active. T-shirt take is inactive. So what you'll see here is drop is initially not active. Oops, let me leave that off. Take is initially active. So by default, the t-shirt should be lying in a room or in a closet or somewhere because it's not taken. It also, if you look, is not worn yet because remove is not active, but wear is active. So those are defaults. I've seen people get confused when they put a t-shirt in someone's inventory and the wear is active and the take is active. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see a common mistake that a lot of people make, and it's very easy to do, especially if you're not familiar with how to correct it. Let's go ahead and look at the wear, because this is probably one of the more complicated commands that you've seen so far in the tutorial. So what you'll see in the wear command is we have two conditional checks, okay, and we have a command, item layered wear, t-shirt. Layered wear goes through a number of checks based on our layered clothing that we'll get to in a moment. So first, of course, is the item in your inventory. So item held by player, t-shirt. So what this does is if the player does not have the t-shirt in their inventory, we're first going to pick it up if it's available in this room. So we'll say you pick up a t-shirt, and we move the item to the t-shirt, or move the t-shirt item to your inventory. So this is done just to relieve some of the silly player frustrations that you have. There's obviously a t-shirt, you want to wear it, but it says, a lot of times, you have to pick it up before you can wear it. Well, this command by default will take care of that hassle for you. It'll go ahead and pick that up. We'll also modify our actions so that drop is now active, but take is inactive. We don't want people to try taking something they already have in their possession. So that's all that first check does. Then we run a command, item layered wear t-shirt. So what this command does is it checks the rules we've developed in the layered clothing, and if we're able to wear it, it will wear it. If we're unable to wear it, it will not set the wear state or worn state of the object. So that's why we have an additional check. The player tried to wear it, but maybe they already had a vest on, so they couldn't put a t-shirt on over the vest. That would look silly. So we'd say, sorry, you have to remove the vest first. So we always have to do a check. Did we wear the item? In order to do that, we have a condition that does an item state check. We're going to check the t-shirt, and the state must be worn. You can also check any of these other states, locked, unlocked, whatever. But by default, we want to see, did we actually wear it? And if we did wear the item, then and only then do we modify the t-shirt remove to active and the t-shirt wear to inactive. The wear is essentially the same thing. It's an inverse. The item must be currently worn. If the item's not worn, we just say, hey, you're not wearing a t-shirt. So it wouldn't make sense to remove it. Now that should normally never happen because we're inactivating the controls. We also have item layered wear or layered remove t-shirt. Now, we also have to check if we remove the item. So for example, if a player has on a t-shirt and then a vest over the t-shirt and they try to remove the t-shirt, the vest is in the way. So we'll say, hey, you couldn't remove it because you're wearing a vest. And oops, let me undo that. Was the item removed? We check that, and only then do we flip the actions that are activated. So let's go ahead and make the common mistake that I was talking about say you want the player to be wearing the t-shirt initially. So you can just drag it over here into the player's inventory, and there you go. So the player has a t-shirt, right? That's all you have to do. Well, let's see what actually happened. Let's go ahead and debug it, and we'll fix this after we do this. Since this is a common problem, I want you all to know how to take care of it. So in your inventory is a t-shirt. It's not worn, and the take is available. You can't drop it. You should be able to drop it because you're carrying it. So if you click take, you pick up a t-shirt. Now you could drop it, and now it goes down in here. So we want it worn, we click wear, we put on the t-shirt. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want it to be worn, we want it to be held by the player. So let's show you how to do that real quick. Go back to our object, the t-shirt. The t-shirt is still in the player's inventory, but all we have to do to fix this problem is say the current wearable state is worn. If we go over to the actions, we want drop to be active. We want take to be inactive. Okay? We want wear to be inactive, but we want remove to be active. So that's how you can by default have a player wearing a piece of clothing. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay. So what you see here is you're now wearing a t-shirt. If we right click, you can drop or remove. So that's exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and assign a layer to this t-shirt. Let's look at this layered clothing tab a little more closely. By default, I've defined 3 body zones: upper body, such as t-shirt area, mid body, such as pants and shorts, and lower body, which could be shoes and socks. Okay? If you want to add a new zone to layer, you can. Let's go ahead and add one. Let's call it your head. So if you want to wear a hat, or I don't know, you could maybe put a piece of cloth over your head and tie it around if you're in the desert. So we have a head zone, and you can wear different items on your head now. So we want to, for the t-shirt, assign a zone. So the t-shirt is going to be worn on either the head, lower body, mid body, or upper body. So for a t-shirt, I'm going to say upper body. Now the level, this is where you define what goes on top of what. The lowest level is 1. That would be the closest to your skin. So we got a t-shirt. I guess theoretically you could have something on underneath your t-shirt, like a wiretap device or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and set it up at least 1 level. So we have the flexibility to put something on underneath the t-shirt and hide it if we wanted to. So we'll say level 2 instead of level 1. We'll go ahead and add that zone level. So there you go. We've got upper body 2 for a t-shirt. So now it has a layer. Let's go ahead and add another upper body piece of clothing. Let's add that vest I was talking about. We'll go over this a little quicker now. We'll create the vest. A vest. A nice gray vest. Let's find our vest picture. There we go. I think that's gray. We'll go over here. We'll add our examine. We'll add our take, drop, wear, remove. Let's go ahead and make sure we display a picture. Display our vest. There we go. Now let's add a layer. This will be upper body. We're going to have it go over the t-shirt. Level 3. You can assign multiple zones. For example, if your female character is wearing a dress, it might cover your upper zone and your mid zone. So you can add as many zones as you like. Let's go ahead and do that. So there you go. You can stack bunches of zones. If you're wearing a full suit of armor, plate mail armor, You might have arm zones, like forearm, your hands to wear gauntlets. You can add as many zones as you'd like, and the full suit of plate mail would cover all of those zones. So you could add them all. It would be difficult to put on and take off. You'd have to remove all the other bits of clothing and make sure that would fit on correctly. But it can be done, so you can add as many as you want. I don't want mid-body 3 here, so we can just highlight it and click remove. So we have a vest. Let's go ahead and give it to the character, or the player, to start with. Drag our vest object over there. And we're going to set it initially to be worn. So let's go here, turn worn on. We'll go flip our actions, like I showed you. There we go. So now the player is wearing a vest, which is a upper body level 3, and a t-shirt, upper body level 2. Let's go ahead and run the game, and we'll try to mess it up with our layers here. Let's debug it. Okay, so our character is wearing a vest and a t-shirt. Let's go ahead and try to, well, let's examine, make sure our picture shows up. There's our vest. There's our t-shirt. Let's remove the t-shirt while wearing the vest. Okay, it didn't work. You see here, you cannot remove a t-shirt. You need to remove a vest first. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. The vest was removed fine because there's no layers above it. Now we can remove the t-shirt. There we go. Let's go ahead and wear the vest, because we can do that. Put on a vest. Now, let's try wearing our t-shirt. Oh, we can't wear the t-shirt because the vest is in the way, and the t-shirt's supposed to go under the vest. It would be silly to wear a t-shirt over a vest. We have to remove that, wear the t-shirt first, and then wear that. There we go. So that's how layered clothing works and how you can define some clothing objects. Let's go ahead and exit out of there. We'll go back to our designer. I wanted to build a couple hat objects, show you what happens when we have things at the same level. Then we're going to get into the doors here. Let's go ahead and add some hats. I've got a couple hats here. Where are they? So I've got a top hat, and I believe it's called a wrench hat. Hat with a wrench on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these. Wrench hat. A hat with a wrench on it. There we go. I'm going to add some actions here. We'll do our examine. Make sure we display our picture when the player examines the hat. Here's our wrench. And we'll set our wearable objects. Let's go over here. We're going to make this hat be worn by the player initially. So we'll flip our actions around so that it's worn. There we go. And we'll give it to the player. There's our wrench hat. Let's go ahead and make our other hat. Top hat. A fancy black top hat. There we go. Examine that. Take, drop, wear, remove. Let's go ahead and display the picture of the top hat. There it is. Okay, now this top hat will not be worn initially. But let's stick it in our beginning room. Put the top hat in there. Okay, so let's go look at our layered clothing. Now we want the hats to be on our head zone. We'll call it, oh, I don't know, zone 2, I guess. Potentially you could hide something under a hat, so we'll go ahead and make it a zone level 2. We'll go ahead and grab our wrench hat. Oh, you know what, I didn't add that. So we'll add that there. Let's go back here. I don't think I added it. Nope. Okay, so they're both at the same level. Rags will also stop you from wearing items at the same level at the same time. So that wouldn't make sense. Let's go ahead and try it. Here we go. So we have a wrench hat, and there it is. There's also a top hat in this room. Okay, let's try to wear it. So you'll see we picked it up. You pick up a top hat. You cannot wear a top hat. You need to remove a wrench hat first. Let's go ahead and remove that. And then can we wear the top hat? Yes, we can. Can we wear the wrench hat? Nope. Got to remove the top hat. So that's how items at the same layer work themselves out. Great. Let's go ahead and make a door, because I know a lot of people like doors, and I'll show you how the portal object works in Rags. So we're going to add preposition a, door. This is a solid pine. We're going to go ahead and make this door object not only open and close, but we'll also make it lockable. And I'll show you how you can lock or unlock an object, and we'll create a basic key object to do this. Let's go over here. I want to be able to examine it, and I have a picture of our door. Where is that door? Here it is. So we're going to go ahead and display our multimedia, and it will be a solid pine door that we're showing. There it is. Great. Now this will open and close, and it will lock and unlock. So with lock and unlock and open and close, you have to do a few customizations. For example, the open, we will have to add an additional check to see if the door is locked. If it's locked, we won't let the player open the door. So here you see, if it's already open, we say it's already open. Let's go ahead and add an additional check. Add a condition. Locked. Okay. So here we do our item state check. The item will be our door. It must be unlocked. Okay. If it's not unlocked, we're going to let the player know that they need to unlock it. You must first unlock this door. There we go. Okay, so that's to open the door. I'm not too concerned if they close it or not. It would have to be open already, so I'm not going to make any modifications there. But I am going to make a modification to unlocked. So what we do by default is check and see if the door is already unlocked, and we let you know, hey, the door is already unlocked. Let's change that. The door is already unlocked. Okay, and that's all it does. It will unlock it whether you have a key or not. So let's go ahead and create a key object real quick. Key. A key. This is a key for the pine door. Okay. Let's add an examine, and a key can be picked up. So we're going to add take drop. There we go. Let's go ahead and stick that key in our beginning room as well. Let's go back here to our door now that there's a key. Go to our unlock. Let's add a condition. Does the player have a key? Okay. Item held by player. That sounds good. We want the player to be holding the key. If the player has the key, then we can unlock the door. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and drag these into our commands on success. Whoops. See what I did? There we go. Okay, so first we check for unlocked. Door is already unlocked. Does the player have the key? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drag this whole condition up here. So the door is locked. If the door is locked, then we'll go in here. Does the player have the key? That makes a little more sense. Down here, it says the door is already unlocked. If the door is locked, we'll see if the player has the key. Right now it'll say a door is now unlocked, and we'll unlock it. Let's add a message if they don't have the key. Hey, you've got to get the key first. There we go. So now we've created a door that's lockable and unlockable and can be opened and closed if the player has the key. There's one problem. We want to make sure that the player has the key to lock the door as well. So let's go ahead and copy. Control C will copy our condition here. So check for locked. What we're going to do is go up here. I'm going to Control V now to paste that in there. Does the player have the key? If they do, we're going to move these two commands. These are old commands. We don't want them anymore. Okay. Let's delete our old commands out of there that we copied over. So if the player has the key, we'll say the door is now locked. We'll set the state of the door to locked. Commands on failure. Hey, you've got to get the key first. That's fine. So that's how we can make a door lock and unlock. So let's go ahead and run this. Oh, before I do that, let's jump over here to our room exits. We're going to set this door as a portal object from the destination room to the beginning room. Let's go ahead and select. Oop. That's not right. Let's go to our objects here, go to our door, we'll set our property. The trunk showed up. It's interesting. Okay. We'll call it a container. I think that's what we need. Is that right? Let me just do a quick check here. I must have done that for some reason, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, okay. No, I just had a refresh. Our object just needs to be openable. It doesn't need to be a container. I just had to refresh this here. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have a door. Now if you look at the destination room, there's a door portal object going back to the beginning room. It's the same door. Now one thing that would be nice is the door would have to be open for us to go from the beginning room to the destination room. Right now the door is just a portal object, but it's not stopping you from moving from the beginning room to the destination room. Let's go ahead and stop the player from going through there. Now by default you're going to start and you'll have no exits unless you can open up the door. But now we're going to have to modify our object so that when the door is open we turn on this exit. So right now it's off. Let's go ahead and add one more command to our door. Open. Okay. So when we do our successful commands here, we set the state of the door to open and we say a door is now open. Let's go ahead and add one more command. All we're going to do is turn on our exits. That would be under room. Let's find it in here. Set exit to active or inactive. The room, beginning room, that's good. We want to set north active. Okay. We're going to copy this command and paste it because we're going to make a slight change. We're going to pick destination room. We're going to set south active to the beginning room. Great. Also, when they close the door, I'd also like to inactivate these exits. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to copy and paste. But we're going to change. This is our beginning room, right? We're going to set north inactive. Down here, our destination room, we're going to set south inactive. So there you go. So that's how you can quickly create a door object. Okay, why is that? Let's go ahead and fix that. There we go. Yeah, that looks right. Good deal. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's see if we've done it correctly. There we go. Okay, so you'll notice we have no exits. But there's a closed door. Let's go ahead and open that door. Oh no, the door is now open. Well, the good news is when we open the door, we can now go north. Here's our door again. Let's go ahead and close the door. And now we can't go south. Let's open the door. Okay, so that's good in a way, but our door was not locked. It was unlocked. Let's go ahead and lock that door. Objects. Go over to our door. You'll see the current locked state is unlocked. That's its default. Let's go ahead and lock it. Let's try that again. Okay. Now let's try opening the door. It shouldn't let us. You must first unlock this door. Okay, so let's try unlocking. Hey, you've got to get the key first. We'll take the key. Now we'll unlock it. There we go. The door is now unlocked, and now we can open it. That's a little better. Let's go ahead and close the door. It still shuts off our exit. Let's go ahead and lock the door, and now try opening it. You must first unlock. So everything is working the way I want now. We've got our door. We've got our layered clothing. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to cover before we end it. Oh yes. Let's go ahead and use those sound effects when we wear certain items of clothing. We'll play some silly sound effects. So we'll do balloon pop when the player wears the top hat. How about? So we'll go into our top hat object, go back into our actions. Did we wear the item? Well, if we did, let's go ahead and play that crazy sound effect. So what we'll do is select media, play sound effect, we'll play balloon pop. That's all there is to it. That's how you can play a sound effect. Let's go ahead and copy that. We're going to play a different sound effect when they wear the other hat, the wrench hat. Okay, so let's pick a different sound. Let's see what else we have. Okay, so we'll play that. Comical descent. Okay, how about a vest? They successfully wear that. We'll play another sound effect. Let's see what else I have here. Metal gong. Okay, so we'll do that. If I can find it. Comical metal gong. Okay. There it is. Okay, so let's just run that real quick and then we'll be done with our object tutorial for now. Here we go. So let's go ahead and remove our wrench hat and let's wear it. There we go. We got our sound effect. Let's remove our top hat and remove our wrench hat and wear that one. So there you go. What was the other one? Vest. Let's remove that and wear it. So there you go. That's as easy as it is to add sound effects to rags. Let's go ahead and close that and we'll go back. So that concludes, for the moment, our object tutorial. We're going to move on to characters next. So stay tuned. Thank you.